Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Dan Spieler. As we move closer to October, the federal government is moving closer to the threat, potentially, of another government shutdown. This as the Senate returns to the Capitol with new questions about what's next in Washington. Jesse Tourneur has the latest.
All eyes were on the Senate's top Republican as he made his return amid concerns over his ability to lead.
It's good to be back.
Senators are back from their extended summer break and now face questions about how they will keep the federal government running beyond the end of the month. But first, they had to address health concerns swirling around Capitol Hill.
I assure you, August was a busy and productive month for me and my staff.
After suffering a concussion earlier this year, the top Republican in the Senate, 81-year-old Mitch McConnell, has had 2 public freeze-ups. But on Tuesday, the Capitol physician said the episodes show no evidence of a stroke or seizure disorder.
I'm glad to see him back and doing well.
With Democrats' narrow majority in the Senate, they need all the votes they can get. But 90-year-old Dianne Feinstein has also faced health problems, including a fall at home during the August recess.
As we gavel back in, we will keep going to reward the trust the American people have placed in us.
Senate Republicans appear more interested in avoiding a government shutdown than their colleagues in the House, which returns from recess next week.
There's no reason for Congress to shut down the government. Absolutely none.
As they debate a budget, some House Republicans still want to include measures to secure the southern border and a Pentagon abortion policy and block the Justice Department from prosecuting former President Donald Trump. But the White House is urging lawmakers to be realistic.
To ensure there are no disruptions to impact programs the American people rely on.
And the White House is also proposing a $40 billion funding package for Ukraine and disaster relief. But some Republicans are also reluctant to keep helping with Ukraine's war effort. In Washington, I'm Jesse Tourneur.
All right, Jesse, thanks. In recent weeks, we've spoken with both of Indiana's senators about the possibility of a government shutdown, including Indiana Senator Mike Braun and fellow Republican Senator Todd Young. Here's part of our conversation about the possibility of another shutdown come October. October 1st, we could face that same threat again, another potential shutdown looming that day. How concerned are you that Washington has become somewhat dysfunctional in the midst of all of this political gridlock?
It's been dysfunctional for some period of time, certainly preceding by a number of years this most recent fiscal standoff. You know, I'll just share frustration with you and your viewers. What I'm most frustrated by, despite the very serious and important spending concessions that Speaker McCarthy was able to get in this last standoff, is the fact that so many conservatives have written off the table trying to address our entitlements. Social Security is on its road towards bankruptcy, as with Medicare and Medicaid. Those spending programs, those very important programs to our seniors and to lower income individuals are headed for insolvency, and our federal government's doing nothing. So in a bipartisan way, we need to come together and change that.
In Congress right now, too, another potential government shutdown looms this fall, and I want to ask you about that. You've often spoken against the process. Will you vote to keep the government running this fall, or might we see a shutdown come October 1st?
So I will not vote for a continuing resolution. I would vote for bills like Governor Rick Scott, Senator Scott and I have introduced. No budget, no pay. The fiscal year begins in just a little over a month, and we knew that a year ago. Nothing is changing. The people that run Congress like it that way, and they use it as a tool to give us, through no budgeting, haven't budgeted in 20 years. I'm on the committee, and it's sad how little work it does. And then the appropriators, which I gave up that committee because it's just as bad. It's done behind closed doors. Dropped in your lap, 4,100 pages, 2 days to read it, and last time that occurred, it was 1:40 in the morning. That's a broken system. I always vote against something if it's principally not running well, and I'll vote against a continuing resolution, but I'd vote for measures to reform it or prevent a shutdown. The people that are there use that as a tool to perpetuate the status quo.
Meantime, this week, Senator Braun co-sponsored a bill to ban federal mask mandates in the wake of a new spike in COVID cases. That bill failed in the Senate. Fellow candidate for governor Curtis Hill recently said if elected governor, he would not impose any mandates at the state level. Both Hill and Braun part of a crowded Republican primary that just keeps getting bigger as another opponent of theirs goes up on TV this past week with a new campaign ad.
The career politicians want you to settle. but I'm running for governor because your family deserves someone willing to fight for them.
That's Brad Chambers' new ad airing on stations across the state, spending millions of his own money. This week, the former Commerce Secretary also announced a number of new arrivals to his campaign, some big names in party politics, including former state party chair Kyle Hupfer, strategist Marty Obst, who's worked with Mike Pence through the years, and political consultant Jennifer Hollowell. Meantime, we're seeing some internal polling on the race for governor conducted by Jennifer McCormick's campaign, which showed her and Curtis Hill tied at 36%, with McCormick trailing two other GOP candidates. Axios Indianapolis obtained that polling data, and right now we're joined by Axios reporter Erica Herron. So Erica, this poll showed her tied with Curtis Hill. What about some of the other candidates?
Yeah, thanks, Dan. The polling also showed her in a pretty close race with Lieutenant Governor Suzanne Crouch. Crouch had a little lead over McCormick in that, 39 to McCormick's 34%, but that was within the margin of error. The only candidate that they polled her against that was outside of that margin was Senator Mike Braun, who led her by 11 points, 46 to 35. They didn't poll on the other candidates in the race, though. This polling was conducted before Chambers, a few days before Chambers got in. So we don't know exactly what polling would say about those two head to head.
This poll also, though, touched on the issue of abortion as well. What were Hoosier voters saying in this poll about that issue and how it might impact 2024?
Yeah, McCormick's campaign is saying they see a real window here, for her to surprise people in this race once they start messaging on abortion. It asked voters, potential voters in the survey, what they would prefer a candidate, a Republican candidate who would enforce the abortion, the state's near total abortion ban, versus a Democrat who would work to reverse that. And it was kind of a dead heat at that point. Of course, that's not how these questions will be worded on the ballot, but some interesting insight into what messaging and how that could shift the race.
Okay, we'll see what happens ahead of 2024. Erica Herron, thank you so much. We appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you.
All right, let's turn now to the race for president, with former VP and former Indiana Governor Mike Pence hitting the campaign trail this past week in New Hampshire, giving a speech on the dangers of populism, in his words, and calling for a new direction for conservatives. Reporter Josh Morrill was there.
I'm running for president because I think this country's in a lot of trouble.
On a vibrant day at New England College, the school welcomed former Vice President Mike Pence for a town hall where he pushed his conservative agenda and a sense of strong national identity.
Fiscal responsibility and pro-growth policies, a commitment to traditional values and liberties and life.
The longtime politician took shots at the Biden administration, citing the withdrawal of the country's military from Afghanistan and the current state of the economy.
And their policies at the border have unleashed the worst border crisis in American history. It's unleashed the worst inflation in 40 years. Mortgage rates are at a 22-year high.
With Pence still fifth in many national polls, he says his work as vice president under Donald Trump speaks for itself.
We became a net exporter of energy for the first time in 75 years. We've got to get back to the strong military, to a commitment to pro-growth policies.
And older Republican voters in Henniker say that record is why they support him.
He would do what's right for the country, not what's right for Mike Pence.
Pence continues to try and distinguish himself from his former running mate and from the events of the January 6th insurrection, calling on Republican voters to choose between classic conservative principles over what he is calling problematic populism that he says was sparked by Trump.
I think the American people long for us to restore a threshold of civility in public life.
And the candidate laid out aspects of his foreign policy goals.
I believe it's in the national interest of the United States to provide the support for the Ukrainian military so they can defeat and repel that Russian invasion.
Josh Morrill reporting there from New Hampshire. By the way, next week, Pence will appear live on News Nation in a town hall broadcast from Iowa. That's Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. We'll have highlights for you here on In Focus next week. Meantime, coming up next, new polling shows some potential warning signs for President Biden, what the poll says about his vulnerabilities with voters as he heads overseas for the G20. Then later, big changes for doctors because of Indiana's near total ban on abortion that just took effect. We'll have that straight ahead.